Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today's task is to find the problem that is causing this truck to overheat. So, well, I actually know what the problem is. It's losing coolant, and it is losing through the water pump. Let me show you how and where. That is the water pump right there, and as you guys can see, there's a hole there, and then there's another little hole on the bottom of that. And if the seals go bad, they start losing coolant. Let me demonstrate. So to demonstrate, what I'm going to do is put some water in the radiator and show you guys where it's leaking out from. By the way, it's still water. It's not a antifreeze, because I don't want to waste an antifreeze if I'm going to be working on the coolant system anyways. Now, I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up, but there is a leakage happening right over there, right under the water pump. So that means that water pump is bad and we need to replace that. So, all right. While considering changing the water pump, it's also smart to check to see if your fan clutch needs to be changed also. And a good way to test that is see if there is any play. If you do this, and as you can see, I have a good amount of play in there. So that means that needs to go. So it's gonna be a two-part replacement. I'm gonna go ahead and change the water pump plus the fan clutch. Let's start taking off the parts to be able to get to the water pump. We can start with the wiring harness. You can say this is you can tell already this is already off of mine, and you got some 10mm bolts around here. You need to take it off, and then from there you'll be able to access the fan much easier. And yes, it is a mess down here. This truck does get used. We'll go mudding and off-roading quite often. So yeah. Okay, so once the cover is removed, next step is we need to drain the coolant so we don't make a mess trying to remove the water pump. And to do so, there is a drain plug all on the bottom, right under the upper radiator hose, just to make sure that you have something like a bucket or something that's going to catch all the liquid on the bottom. It'd probably be smarter to actually try to hook up a hose or something so it makes it less of a mess while you remove the drain plug. Alright, so while that's continuous draining, we can start working on the next item. We'll start removing the fan clutch, and then get to removing the water pump itself. What I learned so far is to unscrew that nut. You just place it like so, and then just start hitting with a hammer until that comes loose. Alright, finally the fan clutch nut is loose enough. Alright. This is out. Alright, so next step is removing the belt. Quick picture of how a belt's set up in there. So I can put it back the right way again. So let's remove the belt. Go to the side. Next, removing this hoses. Finally, this bad boy's out. Now that the water pump is removed, it's important to clean these parts out. As you can tell, that I think the gaskets are still on there. At this point, we're gonna remove the, the fan from the fan clutch. For that, you need a 30mm socket. Okay, that is out. Here's the new water pump. Was a fan clutch from AutoZone. Cost about $100. There's the fan clutch. Comes with a new hardware, so that's nice. Here's the water pump itself. Next step at this point is install the fan onto the fan clutch. So the hardware that came with it isn't actually the same size. It's much bigger. So the hardware that came with it is actually a 16mm. Here we go. Next step is to remove the pulley off the water pump. And for that, you will need a 10mm socket. One of the challenges moving this pulley, unscrewing these bolts, is that it's hard to hold on to this. You try to open it up and it's just so. What I'm gonna do is just stick one of these and kind of lock it from the bottom. As you can see, it just kind of locks it at the bottom there. Like so. Bring in the new one. Good. The new water pump did come with 2 gaskets. So we have the gaskets and we have the bolts. But before we use these bolts again, we're gonna have to clean them up a bit. They're a little nasty. All right, nice and clean. Now onto the installing this thing. I am going to apply just some thread locker in there. All right, so to get the water pump back in there, it took a few minutes. The gasket just kept coming off, and what I did is that I put a little RTV on the gasket, and then also I put the bolts in there This RTV wasn't holding it good enough, so while I'm trying to mount it, I didn't want the gasket to keep moving, so I had the RTV and plus those 4 bolts in there to secure the gasket, and then slowly I pushed it in there and start tightening it. So, and that's how I was able to get it back on there. So at this point, there's the water pump back on. The hose is attached. Everything's tightened up. Now it's time for the fin to go back on. Oh no, now it's time for the belts and then the fin back on. Now the fin with the new clutch goes back on. Let's put the fin back on. So at this point we have the water pump and fin clutch nicely installed, and now we're ready to put back the cover. Oh, don't forget to put the radiator plug, drain plug back on. So at this point everything's installed, hopefully in the right way. And we are ready for some coolant. So at this point we are ready to put some Dexcool GM approved coolant in. So I'm not going to fill this up all the way because what I have to make sure is that I bleed all the air out, and usually they make a kit where you put it on and make sure this becomes the highest point. But I don't have that kit, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make sure that the front of this truck is higher, this point is higher as much as possible. Alright, as you can see, we put the front of the truck higher, so this coolant fill-up point is the highest point, and all the air is gonna rush out of here. At this point, I'm gonna start the truck and then let it run with the heater on. And that's how we have a new water pump with a clutch fan. And I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, you can put it on the comments, and I can answer as quick as possible. This whole thing cost me maybe 130 bucks. So it's pretty cost-effective way of fixing the engine overheating problem.